Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Let me change this real quick, see what happens. You find a way to win, you find a way to lose. Yo, okay. I think that's good right there, right? Yeah, I'll leave it right there. Anyway, man, I did a video. I did a YouTube short, but I'm gonna do a video going over the comments in that YouTube short. That YouTube short kind of went viral. People have an opinion about what I said. Now, all I said in the video was that Errol Spence, his aggression backfired when he faced Terrence Crawford. And I said it could be the same case for Canelo, coming in being aggressive against Crawford and can pay the price. I didn't say they were the same fighter at all. But the damn Canelo fans heard what they want to hear, and they were off to the races with taking it to the stupid. But the reality is this. Errol Spence and Canelo, they're not the same fighter, but they do have many similar qualities. That's no secret. For anyone to say that Errol Spence and Canelo that they do not possess similar qualities, you're delusional and you're taking it to the stupid. And I do think that this could prove to be very good for Terrence Crawford. Now, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, become a member to the channel. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Now, when we talk about what things they have in common, the body punching. You guys act like Errol Spence wasn't out here snatching bodies. Y'all act like Canelo ain't out here snatching bodies. So we can just stop right there. Both fighters are known for devastating body shots. So when we want to say that they're nothing alike, they don't have anything in common, Errol Spence and Canelo have used the devastating body attacks to break opponents down over time. Okay? So that is something they both have done consistently in their careers. Now we know Errol Spence hasn't returned to the ring after he fought Crawford, but we're just talking about the things that he has done consistently in fights. Okay? And the same thing for Canelo. Now, the thing about getting those body shots off, they're able to do it because they're always being aggressive, like I said, and bringing that pressure fighting style into the ring. Man, people forget, they were saying that Errol Spence first started learning boxing underneath the Mexican coach in Texas. Then Derek James got a hold of him and, just basically, fine-tuned him a bit. And you had a complete fighter who could box, who could bang, who could pressure you, fight on the inside, and go to the body. So you had a well-rounded fighter. Canelo can do the same thing, but you've seen Canelo over time has evolved his style. But both of those guys excel at applying pressure, cutting off the ring, and forcing opponents into uncomfortable positions. Errol Spence was trying that. Canelo is going to try to do that to Crawford. The thing is, if you try to do that to Crawford, it's not what I think. It's not what you think. It's what these fighters have said. Crawford can crack. In addition to him having heavy hands, Crawford has timing, and he's accurate. They all talk about, the amount of pressure it takes to knock somebody out. It's not a lot. And the shot that hurts you the worst isn't the one you see coming by somebody with hands like bricks. It's getting hit with shit you don't see. Errol Spence got hit with a lot of shit he didn't see by Crawford. And I think Canelo could get hit with a lot of shit he doesn't see by Crawford. Because Crawford is switching stances. He's throwing a jab, right hand, swivel jab, uppercut. He moves out on angles. Crawford does everything very, very good. But Canelo has a brilliant mind. So it's just a matter if Canelo can break all that up with his hooks. With Crawford exits to his right, Canelo throws that left hook to control him. If Crawford tries to go to his left, then Canelo throws the right hook to try to control him. You see, it's just going to be a matter of whatever Crawford's doing to see if Canelo can be 2-3 steps ahead of him. Because what we know, when you look at all the fights they both had, one fighter's been able to stay a step ahead of all of his opponents, and the other one hasn't. In addition to that, I think if we really were to try to analyze these guys' boxing brains, you'd have to do like a craniotomy. Crack open that skull, examine their brains, and I think what you'll see is that Crawford's brain processes information faster. That's why Crawford's able to always have the upper hand in the fight, make adjustments on the fly, and up it and get the victories. and Canelo has come short. Matter of fact, Canelo's come short several times, but he's gotten the nod. He lost the first 2 fights to Triple G, but we know how that shit was about. He lost those fights, okay? But at the end of the day, doesn't matter if Canelo lost more than 2 fights or if some of y'all feel he should be undefeated. Canelo and Errol Spence has sound fundamentals, excellent technical skills. The defense on Canelo may be a little bit better than Errol Spence, but Canelo gets hit too, but his defense is a little bit better. So maybe Crawford will have a little tougher time cracking the code on Canelo, especially that Canelo's been in there with bigger, stronger guys. But the bottom line is, Canelo can be hit. He's vulnerable. He's slowed down. Crawford is going to come into the ring after a year of inactivity, but for some reason, even though he's been out the ring for a year, he's shown that he can get back in the ring and continue to fire on all cylinders. So it's just genetically gifted, man. And again, that brain is processing at a much faster speed than any of his opponents can achieve inside the ring. But we're going to see how it all plays out, because I know Canelo slowed. We're going to see if Crawford slowed a little bit, Crawford is getting up there in age. So the precise counterpunching is something that has been Crawford's saving grace at times. When it looks like the first 2 rounds, a fighter's touching him, and Crawford is like, we're sitting there saying, damn, Crawford getting touched up. Then all of a sudden, he'll either go into the phone booth, turn into southpaw, man, and then he comes out, and the precise counterpunching is on display. And then it's just a matter, and the disciplined footwork's on display, and then it's a matter of time before he gets a stoppage. Now, can he do that against Canelo? People are saying he wasn't able to do it against Madrimov. How's he going to do it against Canelo? How about this? Madrimov does a lot more feints and a lot more herky-jerky movement, a lot more me, myself, and Irene type boxing than anybody in boxing right now. It's hard to figure out a guy like Madrimov, okay? And this shit about, Virgil Ortiz, you saw what he did to Madrimov. How about he got Madrimov after Crawford had already put the bing-bings on him? And according to Eddie Hearn, which I don't buy into all that, Madrimov had, supposedly bronchitis. So I give Virgil Ortiz all the credit in the world. But let's not act like Crawford wasn't hurting him. He was hurting him. But Madrimov is an experienced fighter, expanded amateur pedigree. Don't sit there and talk about he only had 8, 9, 10 fights. Get out of here with that bullshit. Madrimov was another good fighter. But again, Errol Spence and Canelo, they're very similar, man. Durability. I think one thing for sure is they're both durable, but Canelo's definitely more durable than Errol Spence. I can't sit here and act like Errol Spence and Canelo in that category of durability, that Errol Spence is more durable than Canelo. I think he has incredible toughness, and I think Canelo has incredible toughness. I think they both have shown that they can absorb big shots. It's just Errol Spence in that Crawford fight. Obviously, it was something that he was getting hit with he didn't like. And it could be that Crawford is just that devastating of a puncher. Or maybe it's the car accidents. Maybe it's the inactivity. Maybe it's a number of things that affected Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't know. All you can do is just look at what you have in front of you and make a decision based on that. And what I'd have to say is I think Terrence Crawford had everything to do with the way Errol Spence looked. So absorbing big shots, Canelo can absorb big shots. We already know that. He's got a good chin. But we're gonna see if Crawford can time him and hit him with something he doesn't see, and if he can hurt him, and if Crawford can do that and continue to fight on a high level, even if he can't put a dent in Canelo's chin. Because one thing's for sure, if Canelo feels like you can't hurt him, he's going to step to you. Now the thing is, every fighter can get hurt. Everyone can get hurt. And anybody can be beat, right? There's always a way. It's just a matter of Crawford and Canelo both figuring out that path to victory while they're inside the ring, so one comes out with their hand raised. Now, the other thing with Errol Spence and with Canelo is just their versatility, man. Now, we know Canelo's moved up multiple weight classes. This is what most people are focusing on. Canelo's moved up multiple weight classes. He's comfortable at 168. Crawford doesn't have a chance. You know what I'm saying? Crawford's really a 147-pounder. He went to 154, hop, skipped, and jumped his ass up to 168. He's nowhere in the world he can be comfortable there. But they weren't saying that about Errol Spence when everybody was trying to talk about Errol Spence and Canelo fighting. But no doubt, Canelo has blown up to 168. He looks comfortable there, but he really he really ain't no 168 pounder. And that shit with him and Kovalev at 175, I think that was a fluke. But that's just my opinion. I still wonder how a guy like Kovalev, who's out here damn near killing people in the ring, gets knocked out by Canelo. But again, it goes back to that Eddie Reynoso and the drug cartel bullshit. Maybe there's some funny shit going on out there in that camp. You know, I tend to believe that. I'm going to be honest with you. And I hate to say that because I like Canelo, but I just think there's so much more going on with all these fighters, except for Caleb Plant. He seems to be a clean fighter. But all these guys, there seems to be something going on. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Now, although I think Errol Spence and Canelo have a lot of similarities, at the same time, there's a lot of contrast between the two. And that seems to be what everybody's really focusing on, especially they only seem to be looking at Errol Spence's fight against Crawford and how Errol Spence looked before the fight, during the fight, and looking at what he's done subsequent to losing to Crawford. He's done nothing. But when you look at Errol Spence's whole career, his style of fighting, and what he brought to the table, and Canelo, they sure as hell got a lot in common. But I'll say this, Canelo relies more on his power. He relies more on his head movement, while Spence's focus has been more on volume of punches and pressure. Canelo ain't so much about volume of punches. He's about that pressure, but he's about that head movement and about getting off his power shots. They both have elite skills that make him dangerous in any fight. But I do think if anyone has an advantage, I think Canelo's power and size would give him an advantage going into the Crawford fight. But it doesn't mean he's going to win. It just means when you look at it and you're being honest about it, you know, Canelo seems to be naturally bigger at this point in time. And obviously, he could have more power based on the way he's performed in the ring. Now, we don't have any proof of him being up to no good with pads or nothing like that. The only reason I'm mentioning that shit is because of recent shit with Munguia and Eddie Reynoso, again, another guy who's underneath his responsibility, testing positive for some shit. Just makes me wonder what's going on with any and everybody who's working with Eddie Reynoso. So that's why I'm mentioning it. But key factors for Canelo and against Terence Crawford is just, I think for Canelo, just power and size, man. Canelo's naturally bigger and stronger, and we just got to see if Crawford can handle that pressure. Speed and precision is going to be an issue for Canelo because Terence Crawford is known for his sharp counters and ability to adjust mid-fight, beginning of the fight, mid-fight, and towards the end of the fight. He's always making adjustments, and when he finds what works, he runs with that until he has to make another adjustment. And it goes back to what I was saying, his processing speed. There's no one out there who can match that. And I think that's going to help him to neutralize Canelo's offense, to neutralize Canelo's pressure, and definitely to neutralize Canelo's power. So I think when you talk about speed and precision, you know, Crawford definitely has the advantage. Now, defense and movement. Everyone's going to have an opinion on it, but Crawford's footwork and defensive skills might allow him to avoid Canelo's heavy shots. The first 4 rounds are going to be life and death for Crawford, in my opinion, because Canelo's going to be letting them hands go. I can't see Canelo starting off slow against Crawford. But the first 4 rounds, those will be the most dangerous rounds for Crawford because he can get clipped with some shit and he can get hurt and hurt badly. So we just have to see if he can avoid those heavy shots. And if Crawford can try to control that pace with his reach, again, with his timing, with his slick boxing, and his ability to change stances and hurt you with either hand. It's just a matter if he can do that against Canelo. And then the stamina and durability, this is what I'm saying. Beyond 4 rounds, Crawford gets the upper hand big time. You know, both fighters have excellent conditioning, but it ain't no secret that Canelo's shown struggles against slick boxers who use movement effectively. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not something that I'm making up. That is a fact, man. But again, when everybody keeps talking about Crawford stepping up in weight, again, this whole shit about Canelo's size being too much, I just think they're not really focusing on what fighters have said for years, trainers have said for years. Skills pay the bills. And Canelo has skill too. I'm not saying he doesn't. But it's like most people they're not giving Crawford any credit for what this man brings to the table. They're still saying Crawford has never fought anybody. Look, I don't know about that. They're also saying, well, Caleb Plant had skill. And Caleb Plant does have skill. He also only has one arm. Without his left hand, Caleb Plant does nothing. That right hand doesn't exist. So the fact that Canelo went in there, man, and put the bing bings on Caleb Plant. They're saying, shit, Caleb Plant really is a 175-pounder. Canelo beat the shit out of him. So although Crawford has some mental toughness, he's not going to be able to stand up to a guy like Canelo. He ain't going to be a real threat. I don't agree with that, man, at all, man. But we'll see how it all goes. I think Crawford's going to have to navigate them early rounds. Timing, adaptability is going to be everything for him. Canelo is going to slow down. He always does in every fight. And Crawford can't let him fight at a measured pace. He's going to have to push him. And if Canelo lands something big early and Crawford takes it well, I just think Canelo may find himself getting frustrated and saying, damn, I wasn't expecting that. Because one thing we know about Canelo, he'll let his hands go. He may be economical in his punches, but he will let his hands go. And Crawford thrives on exposing openings. And there are going to be openings there. And Crawford's going to expose them. He's going to land. And Canelo's going to have to, try to make adjustments. Because Canelo's really calculated when he gets in the ring. But I'm just not so sure that relying on that calculated pressure is going to work, especially after the first 4 rounds, if Canelo can't really slow down Crawford. It's going to get interesting real quick. I think Crawford I think he can force Canelo, especially after the first 4 rounds, he can force him into rushed exchanges. He can force Canelo to get desperate. He's like, shit, I'm behind on the scorecards, to get desperate. And then now he can disrupt Canelo's aggression, try to disrupt those rushed exchanges with timing, feints, and counters. What's up, little man? You want Daddy's phone? Yeah. Okay, we're about to go in about 10 minutes, okay? You want my phone? I'll be right there, all right? All right, man. Go ahead. That's my little man right there. Anyway, man, Crawford's going to have to force Canelo to create the kind of mistakes that it's going to allow Crawford to take control. But we just got to see, because no matter what goes on in a boxing match, Canelo always tends to keep his composure. But again, we've seen Canelo struggle against opponents who use movement and angles effectively. If Crawford can make him overcommit or swing wide, which Canelo did against Bivol, and he does that in every fight, he'll sit there and throw wide shots. Then Crawford can capitalize on those gaps and chip away at Canelo's confidence round after round. And then you can see Canelo looking real crazy in them championship rounds, because you know he's behind the scorecard. But let's see how it goes, man. I just think the body work from Crawford, the body work from Canelo, whoever can be successful there with the body work is going to have a great opportunity to win. But Crawford has to be careful not to get caught trying to go to Canelo's body, and Canelo shooting them counters. Canelo ain't just throwing right hands. He's throwing uppercuts, hooks. He's coming over the top. He'll hit you on top of your head. Canelo don't care where he hits you, especially if he feels he's behind. Canelo will look to land precise. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. To land precise shots and try to stay elusive and still work the body as well. So Canelo, again, it's just one of them guys where Crawford should be careful about being in close exchanges with him. And if he's going to do it, he's going to have to get in and get out. Because hanging around there in the danger zone ain't smart for Terrence Crawford, man. But we'll see how it goes. And before I end this video, I've been on here, 18 minutes? I just want to say this. Canelo Alvarez has had a few fights, right, where he didn't look his best. Whether it was stylistic challenges or signs of decline, which is what most of us feel is happening to Canelo right now. When you look at when he fought Bivol in 2022, Bivol's disciplined defense created nightmares for Canelo. The sharp counters, the ability to control the distance, that shit gave Canelo serious trouble. Crawford can do that. He's not as big as Bivol, but he does have a height and reach advantage. So I can see Canelo struggle to land clean shots against Crawford, unless Crawford, again, stays in the danger zone too long. And if he doesn't, Crawford should go on to a clear decision. But if he does, he could get knocked out, or Canelo could win the decision. When Canelo fought John Ryder in 2023, another one of them fights where Canelo he was in Mexico, looked crazy. It was like, what the hell's going on here? Couldn't put a dent in the dude. But he clearly won the fight. But again, he just, like I said, he didn't look dominant. Ryder absorbed shots very well. Very, very well, man. And even had some moments of success, man. He bing Canelo a couple times. But Canelo just, in that fight, he looked super slow. See, people don't want to talk about this shit. He looked super slow, super vulnerable, okay? When he fought School, look, I blame School for that. School didn't box, he ran. That joker ran. But again, people are looking at Canelo just saying he looked horrible. They say even though School ran, Canelo looked slow. Canelo looked tired. Canelo like he didn't know what to do. And then when he fought Berlanga, man, Canelo won the fight. Well, we all agree on that. But Berlanga, when he let his hands go, he had Canelo thinking twice. He landed some big shots late in the fight and made Canelo look, fatigued and vulnerable. So it just shows that Canelo either struggled with movement, lacked urgency, or looked slower than usual in those fights. Now he's going against Crawford, who's been firing on all cylinders. I just think the decline has become more obvious. And I know the matchups play a part in this, but I personally think Canelo's decline has become more obvious, and this is perfect timing for Terence Crawford. And when you look at it, Canelo and Errol Spence, a lot of similarities, but the other things, above and beyond what I mentioned, when you look at Canelo, I think it's obvious that he's slowing. And fans are going to believe what they want. I don't care about who wins or loses. I'm just pointing out the facts. Anyway, and some opinion, but a whole lot of fact. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans on 7 continents. Terence Crawford and Canelo, again, it's about who's going to find the path to victory. But if Canelo come in there looking like he did against Bivol, like he did against Ryder, against School, against Berlanga, slow, timing off, getting fatigued down the stretch, he going to have some problems with Terence Crawford. Keep cool, I'm in the breeze.